The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he didn't. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right. Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. I am the good doc, Jay Adam. In the studio with me today is Dr. BS, who has to Dr. BS his way through this show because I had Bruce on thinking the man card was intact, and I was wrong. Because I said, listen, it's the last show before Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to have to chime in on the Super Bowl and give away some prizes. And you said, oh, great. Who's playing in the Super Bowl? So thanks, Bruce. But he's very excited about the conversations related to the halftime show and the Super Bowl commercials.
Yes. You want man up moment.
Why are you on this show? Go ahead, man up.
You want a man up moment.
Go.
I don't watch much of anything. Even the stuff that I do watch, it tends to be playing and I'm doing other stuff at the same time. So really it's background noise. So any television, sports, anything. The only sports event I usually schedule to watch is the Super Bowl. And that's primarily to hang out with my buddies who follow the football and who to have fun watching the commercials and the halftime shows, which, they tend to be hit or miss in my opinion. But, we have fun, but that's the only real sports event throughout the year, unless I go live. So if I go to a baseball game or I go to a football game or I go to something, I enjoy watching them live and in person. I just have problems connecting with the stuff on television because it's on television. It's there's other stuff to distract me. I usually have a book ready at hand that ends up taking my attention away. So, yeah.
I'm speechless. We've got the wrong guest on today's show, so that will yield to the Facebook users.
For the record, I was told we were talking about China.
Listen, we are going to talk about China because we didn't get to it yesterday. You were like, man, I'm so ready to talk about
China. The whole Super Bowl
China.
topic was thrown at me as I walk in the studio.
No, the Super Bowl, we have known for years now that the Super Bowl would take place this weekend.
That today's topic was going to be the Super Bowl.
What makes you think it's not going to be the Super Bowl? This is Man Up America.
The thread that said that today we were talking about China.
Listen, this show...
my show prep is based on that conversation.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the cast. This show navigates based on the content of what's trending on social media.
Okay.
The Super Bowl is Sunday.
Yeah.
There have been 3 things trending on social media. All right. China wasn't one of them today, but we're going to talk about China.
Well, okay.
Presidential candidates making promises to give away free stuff. Notably Senator Harris out of California.
All right.
Polar vortex.
Yeah.
People's faces freezing off in the Midwest. And the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
None of those you're prepared to talk about.
Might I point out that in addition to the whole Super Bowl snafu, I was loading Facebook on my phone as we were getting ready to go live. I don't follow social media. The stuff I've been following is the news that pops up on the YouTube feeds, which is typically criticisms of other things. Listen, I'm prepared. I'll talk.
I'm going to
about,
catch up our viewers. I've gone to the solo camera, Bruce. You're not even on the
All right,
screen
there you
right
go.
now, so feel free to pick your nose or whatever you came to do today, since you don't know anything about Super Bowl. The Rams and the Patriots meet for the Super Bowl on Sunday. We're going to give away some prizes, so drop your prognostications right now. This is what I want. I want scores. It's in Super Bowl squares. Just pick randomly. I want scores. All right? Rams, Patriots, who wins? What's the final? The final, okay? Those who, in the comments, prior to the Super Bowl, those who are closest, we're going to give away some free stuff next week. I don't know what we're going to give away. We'll give away some free stuff to Bond Life. We might even do something even more special than that. Maybe some garb, some Bigfoot garb. Grand prize will be, I don't know, dinner somewhere. There'll be a gift card somewhere for dinner. So all you have to do is go to facebook.com/manuptalk. On today's show thread, at the bottom, in the comments, who wins the Super Bowl and what's the final. Okay? Don't say, don't give me this, I think they'll beat the spread crap. We're going to talk a little bit about the spread. You understand betting, right, Bruce?
Yes.
All right. We know that we're one to place wagers.
Oh yeah. I'm big gambler. Big gambler.
I know it's usually on battle bots or something like that, but this weekend there'll be a lot of bets on the Super Bowl.
If I can bet on anything, I'll bet.
We're not
on it.
taking bets. Just drop what you think this final in the Super Bowl will be. Who will win? So you got the Rams, Patriots, and in really big news, kind of let's start on the bottom end of it, and then we'll get over to China. Let you talk about China since you actually Googled it before you walked in this morning.
I spent time looking for this stuff.
Kind of the subtle news behind the Super Bowl this year has been Kirby Smart's Georgia players and the propensity of them to be champions in the NFL. So both running backs for both teams played on a Georgia team together. So you have Todd Gurley with the Los Angeles Rams, and you have Sony Michel, who's the running back for the New England Patriots. You have other players from Georgia that are part of both of those squads. There's a heavy presence from Kirby Smart's Georgia team in the Super Bowl this year. And Bill Belichick actually made the statement this week that Kirby Smart produces champions, NFL caliber players out of Georgia. So to all the Roll Tiders out there, there's some Tiders in the Super Bowl.
How do you pick?
How do you pick what?
Well, if you're basing it on that, and both teams have got the Georgia run backs, how do you pick?
You pick who you think's going to win.
Well, I'm just saying,
You don't have to.
If you're going with
Here's
team
the thing about a
loyalty,
Super Bowl, you don't have to fanboy. Although to some degree, I'm going to anti-fanboy in my prediction today because those who've listened to this show know I'm no huge fan of the New England Patriots, but I have been because I have a quarterback as a son, and I'm trying to analyze and work through him, and he's trying to learn the position. I have been trying to give Tom Brady some credit for who he is and what he's been to the game, and he's probably going to go down in history as the greatest quarterback to ever play the game now, which pains me because I fundamentally think Peyton Manning was a better quarterback all around, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the better quarterback is. It matters who the better quarterback with the best team and the best coach with the best opportunity to shine. As far as the most winning, Tom Brady's hard to deny his stature amongst men in that regard. You're like, who's Tom Brady?
No, I know. I know enough about the sport to recognize.
See,
names.
most of y'all, this is where Man Up comes in. This is the truth. Okay, most of y'all, you tune in to the Talking Head sports radio shows, and you've got a panel of experts, and they're going to tell you why someone wins the Super Bowl and yada, and give you all the talking points and the stats and all this fun stuff. This is Man Up America. What do we do on Man Up America? We man up with the fact that most of you aren't that wonky when it comes to the game. Not even as wonky as I am. Most of you haven't watched a single NFL game all year. And you're going to sit down with some friends, and even though you're not a football fan, even though you don't care about either one of these teams, because if you are a fan locally, you're probably a Falcons fan or a Titans fan, you don't care jack about who wins this Super Bowl, really. What you care about is watching the commercials. Is it a decent halftime show? Hopefully you laugh a little bit in the commercials. and getting together with friends and eating some hot wings and chili.
I'll care when the Bears go into the Super Bowl.
Why? Are you from the Chicago too?
Same area as maybe Rob and Ken.
So did y'all all ride down together?
No.
You didn't?
I didn't meet them till I got to Lee.
Well, to hear maybe Rob talk about it, you all like everybody in Chicago knows everybody.
No.
It's not true. No. Not true at all.
It is. I can think of one event where the church I attended as a kid, we had a kind of a joint get together with the church that I'm pretty sure they attended as kids, and it is entirely possible that I met them at some point during that event, but it was large. There was a lot of people, and I don't recall having met them. I met Ken before I met Rob, and I did ride back. When I found out they were from the same area, in college, if you could find a ride home, if you could find a ride home, we bummed a ride from the same guy.
Are these the people you're going to watch the Super Bowl with?
No. I don't know. Maybe if they invite me, but usually I've got.
Are you trolling for an invite? Is that why you came on the show?
No.
Today? All right,
the people I usually watch.
Bruce needs a Super Bowl party.
Hold on. The people I usually watch it with, one moved to Atlanta and the other one's out of town working, so I don't know if he's going to be back.
This has turned into a charity appeal.
It is not a charity appeal.
So many Bruces nationwide suffer from lack of Super Bowl friendship.
Oh.
They haven't had hot wings and chili in years.
I had hot wings last night.
Please, step forward.
Chili.
Find a place for Bruce to watch the game.
Open your hearts and your homes.
You can find a place for Bruce to watch a game and contribute to this cause by going to Man Up, Facebook.com/ManUpTalk, and help Bruce find a place to watch the Super Bowl.
Please let me watch the Super Bowl.
I hear Sarah McLachlan playing in the background, like the PETA commercials, the Humane Society commercials.
Let me see if I can find a nice sad song on my phone to play while we have the emotional appeal.
Bruce, I don't even know. I'm going to move on without you. I've got to.
Go
Let's
ahead.
look at some of the predictions we have so far.
I'll throw out
see where people land
if you want. I can do that.
Some people are still fussing about the playoff games. It doesn't matter. The Rams and the Patriots are playing in the Super Bowl. Who do you have? Pick a winner. Some people want to comment around it. Thank you, Tom. Rams 52, Patriots 31. That's a prediction, people.
Wow, that's big.
Patty says Pats 28, Rams 35. Cummings says Pats 31, Rams 28.
That's close.
This is getting pretty close there. I'm going to give my predictions at the end, and we're going to make Bruce, in his ignorance, have a prediction too, because he's probably going to win.
Why am I going to?
Because you flip a coin. Because my wife is like that. So if you're going to play Super Bowl squares, you want my wife to pick, who knows nothing about what's going on in the NFL, and luck of the draw far exceeds calculation. So for those who play fantasy football, you know this by now. If you let the computer pick for you, you're better off during the season more than likely than if you start to go, I think I'm going to, this is a sweeper pick right here. No, the computer is better than you at your job.
I am not a computer, for the record, but I'll see if I can gaze into the future and see. Oh, Monday's going to suck for you.
Why is that? You're just making stuff up.
Saying.
You're trying to be clever. Stop being clever, Bruce. Let's get to the facts. We mentioned all the Georgia players in the Super Bowl. It'll be fun to watch. I think that's just an interesting little snidbit. I actually am a fan of the game, so I like those little quirks and stories that kind of bubble up every year. But let's start from the beginning. Already rolling out are some of the Super Bowl commercials. There are 53 this year, and what we can expect. There's been an evolution to kind of man up here of Super Bowl commercials in recent years. That evolution has been this. We went through kind of this late 2000s. It really started in the 2000s. It was a really .com push in the Super Bowl ads. You remember this?
Yeah.
So we went from Polar Bears and Coke and Bud Bowls and Budweiser frogs and Clydesdales and all this fun stuff to GoDaddy.com, scantily clad women. We started to get into some potty humor commercials. The champion for the longest time. Add this to the Man Up thread. Before I say who I think Super Bowl champion of commercials was in recent years, feel free to add your 2 cents. Not history. We know that Budweiser's been big. We know that Geico's been big. We know that GoDaddy's had the commercials. But the champion of commercial wins in the past decade. Put in the comments below, guys. Who do you think won that battle? What company won that battle? So we've moved kind of out of the .com boost here, and we're starting to see that there's a 9/11 tribute from Budweiser that's going to be on the ads. Apple has a Super Bowl ad this year. Obviously, there'll be some movie ads. There's a new show, I guess, on Hulu or Netflix. They're starting to push shows. They push upcoming movies.
What movies are they pushing?
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was a 2018. I'm going over the ones from last year.
Oh.
So last year, you had Jurassic World. They pushed that movie. YouTube advertised on the Super Bowl. Toyota, you always have some car commercials on there. Some sort of cell phone company. It was Sprint last year. Really leveraging the fact that they have the Can You Hear Me Now guy working for them from Verizon.
Yeah, how'd they pull that?
It's called a contract.
Yeah,
they pushed the movie Solo, a Star Wars story. I think we'll probably see something in the movie department here this year. Rise, a television show, some airlines. Of course, M&M's. There's usually an M&M's commercial of some sort. A couple of fast food places. And then anybody else that can kind of pop on. There was a lot of movie things last year. I mean, Skyscraper, that was the Rock movie. Mission Impossible Fallout, This Is Us, they pushed that. So yeah, there were a lot of those last year. So let's see if we can get a slate of Super Bowl commercials this year. Super Bowl commercials. Has anybody actually watched any of them yet? Like they've been releasing them.
No, why would you do that?
Well, they release them like on the YouTube now. You can usually YouTube them. I haven't done any of that.
I watch a lot of YouTube.
I haven't heard any buzz around it. Let me go over here to the pages here.
I'm gonna have to be careful now. I don't want
The face pages on the Super Bowl commercial. I feel like in recent years the luster of watching the commercials has diminished. Like, they don't seem as good. They don't seem as attractive. And I think some of that has to do with the fact any good ones we've seen before the Super Bowl. Like you said, why would you do that?
Because they release
I'm giving you props.
They release them early.
Yeah, like I'm giving you props on that, Bruce. I think that you're onto something.
Yeah, see, that's for me, for people like me who watch Super Bowl primarily for the fun commercials. I remember when the Budweiser frogs came out and the Clydesdale commercial. I remember those, and that was part of the fun, was watching those. That you looked forward to that because we didn't, of course, back then we didn't have the wonders of the internet at our fingertips where we could just pull up YouTube and watch all these things. And I kind of see the appeal of putting them out early because they spend a lot of money to put these commercials together and they want to get as much play as possible. But that's part of the fun of watching the Super Bowl, is seeing these commercials as they air for theoretically the first time.
Well, I think the pre-release has definitely hurt the luster of the commercials. They're just not quite as good as they once were. Props to Man Up Land. You guys have got it. I agree with you 100%. The winner in the past decade of Super Bowl companies on the commercial side, Doritos. Like, Doritos has been kind of the champion.
Some good ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Man Up America, Man Up Land, Man Up Universe wins.
Wasn't my favorite, but my favorite was kind of was more when I found out about why it happened.
All right, we all know, too, that your Super Bowl commercials cost upwards of, like, bukus of money.
Yeah.
Black market kidney prices.
Well, that's just and that's just for the airtime. That's not even for the cost of putting.
Oh yeah, not
together.
for the production. You're right. So obviously, we've got Amazon's going to have a big commercial this year. The Pitch is, I guess, a TV show. There's a Bubble. That's a new soft drink. Budweiser has a good commercial. Bumble. I don't even know what that is. Burger King has one. Colgate's on the deck. Doritos has another one with Chance the Rapper and the Backstreet Boys. I'm not going to watch it. They're already like, I'm on a website with every commercial.
Seriously?
Yes. Expensify, Hyundai, Kia, Michelob Ultra, 2 Michelob Ultra commercials. Who's got bank on that one? Olay.
I wonder.
That'll matter to you.
If
See
they
what new
do
skin
this-
products you're going to use.
Oh, yeah. 'cause,
Pepsi, Planters Peanuts, Pringles,
So do they still have
Stella
to pay
Artois.
these? They still have to pay these premium prices for
Toyota.
for the time.
Verizon, Yellowtail, which is the world's cheapest wine.
Because is this an NFL official site?
No, this is CBS Sports.
Oh, well, I just see the NFL logo up in the corner.
It's because the NFL hosts the Super Bowl. It's called the National Football
I
League.
get that.
Okay,
I didn't. See
I didn't
the
want to
CBS
assume
logo.
anymore.
I don't see the CBS logo. I just saw the NFL.
It's in the URL.
Oh, I can't see the URL. My eyes aren't that good.
So yeah, I don't know which one of these is going to be the best. I'm with you. I'm not going to watch them in advance. I'll watch them during the Super Bowl. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, but we all know too that if you're there to watch the commercials, like my wife, you go to the bathroom and get your food refilled during the game. Like what you're not watching is the game. Like you come back for the commercials.
I will say this: the food gets laid out on a table in front of everybody, and then the food and drinks all right.
You don't even have a party to go to. How do you know it gets?
Well,
laid
I
out?
usually do.
You're getting
but
some
they move.
invites though. Man Up America
Oh,
Universe
really?
is taking care of you, man.
There we go. I'll find. Let's see who's invited me to there.
Again,
Oh, see, I'm not seeing any of these.
help the
invites.
Bruces of the world and make sure that no Bruce goes without a hot wing this
Now,
Super Bowl.
hold on. I'm going. If the guy comes back from work and he's in town, I might already have plans because we've been doing this for years.
Listen, man, I can't put forth my philanthropic efforts
There
to
are
get
others
you a
like
Super
me
Bowl
out there.
party.
There are others like me out there. I know there are. I can't be the only
Save
one.
the Bruces.
Find
Rescue the
find a
Bruce.
Bruce out there and say, hey, come have hot wings and watch the Super Bowl commercials and whatever,
Bruce was
That's
like, I'll come to
spectacle
your
is
house
the
as you
halftime.
watch the Super Bowl and I read the next book in the Tolkien series. Isn't that what you said?
No, I do read
Is
books.
that not what you said? All right.
Do you really want a list of what I'm reading right now?
Enough
I'm
on
happy
Super
to throw
Bowl
that out.
commercials. You're anxious. You want to talk about China. Not yet. There's another big element of the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the odds. Okay, some of y'all have already dropped your predictions. Here's the line. The current line is plus 2.5 Rams. Okay? So that's the spread. That's the Vegas spread. Money line has the Patriots at back 129, Rams up 117. The total over-unders 56.5. So there's your lines for those of you who want to place your bets in Vegas. They're going to spot you 2.5 points on the Rams. There you go. Just make your bets. Place your bets now. Have you ever gambled on sports?
No.
You're still trying to get in the Hall of Fame. Don't lie. Listen, Pete, we know you gambled, and we don't care. We want you in the Hall of Fame anyway. So there's our man up moment for today. I know we're talking about football. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. And if you want to disagree with me, Man Up Land, you need to make a case for why Pete Rose should not be in the Hall of Fame. Because he betted on sports, not baseball. He betted on sports, not baseball. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Any dissension from Man Up Land on that?
No dissension here.
So you've never wagered a bet on sports. You ever been to a casino?
No.
Have you ever did a brother man bet where you shook hands and said, I bet?
Like,
Have you ever used the phrase, I bet, colloquially in a
I
conversation?
have used the phrase colloquially in a conversation.
Okay.
I haven't ever actually, wagered.
Somebody got Man Up Bingo. I introduced the word colloquially on the show. I think Adam uses a big word. It's on it's on the Man Up Bingo board. Has Bruce removed his hat yet? Don't do it just for the sake of bingo.
Once Rob pulled it off my head.
Okay. That's on the Man Up Bingo board.
But I
Your
don't
hat comes off.
actually, you know what? I don't know that we were on the air when he did it. Does anybody remember?
If you buy that card, you might want to be careful, Man Up Land. All right, let's see where our predictions are. Anybody leveling more predictions on the Super Bowl? Somebody says, what else is on Sunday night? I'm sure you could find something. $6 million for 30 seconds is what Seth says it is. Yikes.
That's just wow. And then to have them all released early.
Put Joe Jackson in before Pete Rose? Never. Oh, we got a few. Hey, listen, there's a player from Red Bank that's on the D line for the Patriots. I did not know that. We learn something every day. The more you know. The more you know. Let's see here. All right, last but not least, and we'll move on from the NFL and Super Bowl. This game called football, not soccer, by the way. Okay, this is football, like American football.
Yeah.
Has this thing called a halftime show.
Yes.
Now, we've all by now seen what was the trending disaster, which was the Imagine Dragons performance for one of the BCS Bowls. I was really disappointed. My kids are crazy about Imagine Dragons, and they're evidently that horrible when you don't have auto-tune. Which we've had this for a while. We've all heard like the true tracks of Britney Spears singing and
Yeah, Smash Mouth here.
oh yeah, man. I mean, hey. So I'm like this. If you're a celebrity singer and you sound better in the studio, I am okay with you lip syncing the Super Bowl. Again, Man Up Universe, you want to disagree with that? You're like, no, you got to do it live. Now, I'm not saying I don't have respect for, the rock stars and the Springsteens and, the Bruno Marses that get out there and do it live and do it well. But I'm saying, so if you're going to fight me on this, Man Up,
You
Land,
require a certain level of adjustments in the
if
studio.
you sound that much better in the studio, for heaven's sakes, backtrack your performance.
Yeah. I can get on
Please,
board with
please,
that.
please, and lip sync that thing. Mm-hmm. Don't get out there and try to pull off what you can't pull off. I mean, we all know like a Stapleton and Timberlake and those guys can do it. If Brittany, I'm okay with you lip syncing.
Who's singing this year?
Taylor Swift, I'm okay with you lip syncing.
Who's?
Maroon 5.
Well, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I think Adam Levine's going to be live. I don't think he'll be.
They're not bad.
I mean, some of it will be backtracked, but he'll be singing live.
Yeah.
Like he's not scared.
Who's the other?
He's not scarred.
Who's their sleeper in there?
Famous artists who reportedly, let's see,
Because there's always one. There's somebody else extra who gets tossed in the mix.
Maroon 5. I don't know. Man Up Land. Tell me who else is on besides Maroon 5. I know like Imagine Dragons stepped back from another performance with the NFL. It might have been the Super Bowl. But the NFL did cancel the pre-conference with the band prior to the Super Bowl. They released a statement. Maroon 5 has been working hard on the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show that will meet and exceed the standards of this event. It's about music. The artists will let their show do the talking as they prepare to get on the stage Sunday. Starting with the halftime show announcement, we'll begin a cross-platform rollout of behind-the-scenes footage and content from each of the halftime performers instead of hosting a press conference. And I think they've done this because they've had some disasters in the press conferences in the past, which Man Up moment I've never seen. I've never watched the Super Bowl halftime artist press conference prior to the Super Bowl. But evidently there have been some train wrecks.
They had press conferences prior to the.
I'm gonna go back and YouTube some of these old ones. I want to see what the wrecks were all about.
Yeah.
It said Super Bowl halftime show has been an unusually large amount of they're worried about politics from the music world. Since the treatment of Kaepernick, Rihanna reportedly turned down the show in solidarity with Kaepernick, and she wasn't the only musician to do so. Jay-Z, Common, Nick Cannon, Meek Mill. Maroon 5 has certainly heard the backlash for doing the show. So there's obviously a demand from the music world for artists to boycott the Super Bowl because, the NFL's racist, and so is America.
Wow. But, turning down a Super Bowl, that's kind of like turning down an invitation to the White House,
Which happens to.
I know, but the way I kind of see it is, whether you agree with whoever's sitting in that seat or not, you're going to the White House. You get invited to the Super Bowl, you're going to the Super Bowl. If somebody offered me tickets to the Super Bowl, I'd go, even though I'm not a big football fan, just because.
Yeah, but you're not the social justice warrior right now, Bruce.
Oh no,
You've never been quite known as fighting for the plighted man.
no.
If you were fighting for the plighted man,
I fight for the reason to man.
what's something that you think is an injustice in society? I can't believe I'm defending the Super Bowl boycotters. Super Bowl boycotters.
No, I didn't say they shouldn't boycott.
No, answer the question. What is something you see as an injustice in society? If invited to Nancy Pelosi's fundraising dinner, would you go? Don't give me that. I would go and heckle her. Don't give me that crap.
To go to one of those
No, if
things.
you said if somebody gave you Super Bowl tickets, you would go, and I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. But what if you thought like the Super Bowl was the enemy, the NFL was the enemy? What if Nancy Pelosi invited you
and said,
to one of her campaign things for free?
Meal with, I'd go.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that she would go.
I would go, and I wouldn't heckle, but I'd go. Heck yeah, man! I've never been to one of those things ever.
Well,
I've never been anywhere near that level of movers and shakers in anything.
Now, truthfully, I would go.
Yeah, I'd go.
But I would go for the purpose of documenting it for the show. If I didn't have the show, I wouldn't go.
I'd go. I don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with Nancy Pelosi. I think she's off her nut, but
Okay. Maroon 5, we'll watch the Super Bowl. Let your predictions roll in again. It'll be a gift card to someplace for whoever gets the best prediction. Before we move on to China, I'm going to go ahead and give you my Super Bowl prediction.
All right.
Are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Are you ready for this? Rams 37, Patriots 21. Rams 37, Patriots 21. Rams 37, Patriots 21. I will be honest, even though I dislike the Patriots, I have tried to be objective in that analysis. I honestly think the Rams are that good and that thirsty, and I think that Sean McVay, as a coach, has probably spent more time prepping for this Super Bowl than Bill Belichick, because I think Bill Belichick, it's old hat by now. He's always in the Super Bowl. What have they been in the last 3 years? So
I think with my coin flip, I'd go with the Patriots.
So what's your prediction?
I think the score is going to be a much closer score than that. The spread's not going to be, 15 points. No, I think it's going to be probably closer to somebody predicted a 31-28. I think it's going to be closer to that. But I would go with the Pats. I think the Pats will beat the 2.5 point spread that Vegas has against them.
You do? Mm-hmm. I don't. Yeah. Again, the Rams win, guys. Rams win.
Remember, I looked into the future and I saw.
You looked into the future.
That
Listen, so you're looking into the future and Rob's floating above America. For those of us down here living in real time on the ground.
Hey, we've got some really great delusions on Man Up America. Our magical thinking is up there.
What is your favorite delusion, Man Up Land? All right, let's talk about China. Let's get back to what we can do well now that you're here, Bruce. Tell me what's up. What's up? What you said you want. You came in here, you said, China!
I came
Gotta
in
talk about China.
prepared to talk about China.
Tell me about China. What's going on?
Well, it's about time that somebody has stood up and started what this is wrong, because for years they've been stealing stuff, and then they come in, they'll get ideas, or if you want to send something there, they'll say, hey, but we have to have a piece of this, and then they take your technology, make a small alteration, and send it back and undercut our industries by selling it significantly cheaper.
Okay, so you sound like a really bad episode of.
I oversimplify things.
Yeah, this is like what's his name? Alex Jones. What's the name of his station or his thing?
All right, you're gonna.
What's Alex?
Right,
no, what's Alex Jones's thing? What's it called?
We're about to have another man up moment. You're gonna have to tell me who that is.
You don't know who Alex Jones is?
Yeah.
Extreme right wing, crazy, off the rocker dude.
Okay,
but
so that's not the guy that owns the village over here.
No, that's Alan Jones. Alex Jones.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, he's. Oh, this is what happens when most of your cast is out of town. Rick, we miss you. Annie, we miss you. Rob, we miss you. Jenna, we miss you.
Is Alex Jones? He's not a politician, is he?
Joker, no, he's not a politician. He's like a radio web host.
Wait a minute,
booted off Facebook.
Okay, he's the dude that got. But he's crazy. I'd listen to some of
Which
this
is why I
stuff.
said you sounded like him just now.
Why? Because I think that China steals our technology.
No, because you were like, they come in, they steal stuff.
I told you it was an
This
oversimplification.
is it's much more complex. All
Told you it
right,
was an
so let's back up. Let's
oversimplification.
be responsible since we accused news media of not being responsible a little bit. We've been in a trade war with China for some time now. Trump levied his tariffs. China, rebutted. Long story short, China's economy has slowed to the tune they've sent an envoy to Washington, D.C., or wherever it is. I think it's D.C., it might be New York, to meet with the Trump administration to start negotiating how do we get out of this trade war.
Because they said that most of
It's hurting them.
a lot of their they said a lot of their companies are posting losses.
Oh, yeah, the state owns all the companies, right? The big companies, right? So here's the deal. They depend on us way more than we depend on them. As far as, that's why there's a trade deficit. That's why they're winning in the battle. We buy a lot more of their goods than they buy of ours. So there's kind of levels to the discussion. So here's the points of contention. For those of you who are oblivious to this trade deal with China because you've been so fixated on a wall, this has been absolutely a huge threat to life here in the U.S. You don't realize how big it can be. Just in the production side with Stage AVL and those companies that I'm involved with, we saw upwards of, in some cases, 27, 28% in prices being driven up out of China. So let me give you a case in point. Stage AVL had a church client who wanted to buy a sound system. We provided a quote. Trump says, tariff trade war, ain't going to do it anymore. And all of a sudden the price of goods shoot up. The church comes back and says, we're ready to do this project. We now have raised the money from our congregation. And we have to say, yeah, but now it's 25% higher. To which most of them go into a holding pattern. They don't buy anything. This is why China's feeling the pinch. People are saying, well, we can't afford to buy what we were going to buy. We can't afford to do what we're going to do. In the meantime, smaller businesses, smaller AV companies like Stage AVL, we're hurting. You know, we've been in this watch and wait. We want it to get resolved. So the China deal is a big deal. So the trade deficit's number one. Trump essentially is saying to China, you need to buy more American goods. Right? This deficit where we're buying a bunch of your stuff and you're not buying as much of our stuff, we've got to level that out. We've got to get it to where those things come back together a little bit more. He's not saying that we have to be winning the trade war, but he wants to level it. He's saying to China, you've got to kick in. To me, that's probably the most anti-free market statement out there. If we don't need to be focused on making somebody buy more of our stuff, in my opinion. I think the other talking points that are less likely to be resolved with this envoy from China are really what's the deal. It's what we need to be talking about. Theft of intellectual property rights. So this is getting back to what you said about them stealing things. They are stealing things. They steal our intellectual property. So we invent something, we create it, we get a U.S. patent for it, some person over there buys it from us, replicates it over there, and sells it on the international market. So the U.S. has said, we want you to stop stealing our intellectual property rights. Furthermore, Donald Trump and the Trump administration has demanded for China to change its business model to some degree.
From what I was reading, the way their model works, they insert a member of their government into every American company that goes over there. Because in order to do business, you have to have a Chinese representative as part of it.
Whether it's a Chinese company, which again, China owns the companies.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the government.
So they want that to go the way. They want the American companies to be able to go into China and compete.
That's how they get a lot of the intellectual property, is by forcing companies that do business over there to have these representatives there. And that's how they get the stuff that they can then.
Well, the Trump administration wants that to go away.
That's probably not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen. So what I'll say, the fact that they're even over here and recognizing that a relationship with the United States is slowing their economy is a good thing. That's a win for the Donald. A win for Trump. He's got him at least to the table to negotiate. But is it enough of a win? Probably not. It's not going to be enough of a win for me for China to agree to buy more automobile parts from the U.S. or something like that. Unless we get some agreement from China to stop manipulating their currency, to allow American business to compete without having to use a government representative, or more importantly, to stop stealing our intellectual property rights, I'm not going to be happy, guys. Just like I told you, regardless of how you feel about this administration and Congress, I said when Donald Trump was elected, we had control of both, the conservatives had control of the House and the Senate. If we didn't do anything with the Affordable Care Act, that session was a failure. The last 2 years have been losing. It's been a failure. You can point to justices, you can point to all these other things. I get it. That was the big issue everybody ran on. It's the reason we lost the House, is people didn't keep their word. Same thing with China here. I don't want any smoke screens. I don't want any of this typical Donald Trump take an extreme position and come back on it. You know, I'm even here. I wasn't a fan of the wall. I don't think that's where we start with fixing the immigration issue. I'm okay with a wall, though. I don't think a wall hurts us. It's just expensive. I think it's a bad investment. But if you say you're going to build a wall, and you demand a wall, and you shut down the government for a wall, don't come back to me with a fence and say, look, we won. Okay? Don't say you're going to demolish the Affordable Care Act, repeal and replace, and then come back and say, well, we gutted the tax privilege. I don't want that. Don't come to me saying we're going to fix this trade war with China, saying we need them to stop stealing our property, stop manipulating their currency, and then come back and say they're going to buy more corn. I don't want it. I don't want it. I know some of y'all are so in love with our president, and you have been ever since he ran the Celebrity Apprentice. Right? You're infatuated, absolutely infatuated, and I support him. I'm rooting for him. I want him to win because, for heaven's sakes, we all need him to win. And some of the ideas that he has, especially on the economic side, he's right about. Donald Trump is right about what China's doing. Donald Trump is right about what China needs to fix. But I need Donald Trump to take what he's right about and be actionable on it.
Well, and he's been talking about that stuff since the 90s. I remember interviews with him.
It's because it affected him. InfoWars. Thank you, Seth Baxter. Alex Jones and InfoWars. Shows you how much I watch it. So that's who we were thinking about earlier.
Okay,
you were InfoWarring when you started this by going,
I was
they come in, they steal everything.
I was oversimplifying.
And people who don't know any better go, oh, they broke in my house. That's not what's happening.
No, they didn't.
We have to clarify what they were stealing.
They didn't break in your house. They were stealing intellectual properties. But then here's the thing. That undercuts other industries. It undercuts whenever they come back and sell it cheaper, then American products are forced into compete when wages here are higher than they are there. Even if we were to be able to manage to do it, their government subsidizes industries with the intent of trying to undercut what we have going on here. So you've got their government interfering in, when you talk about free trade, it's not free trade. It's American private companies up against the Chinese government, who they don't care what happens to their people so long as they stay in power and they've got money, and they use that money, and they will undercut until they can put our companies out of business.
Well,
there are steel mills all along the Lake Michigan that have been closed down because of the deals that were made with Clinton, that over the years, and China just sent they subsidized their steel industry with the intent of putting ours out of business, and it worked.
Well, again, Donald Trump is right. He's not right about everything, but he's right about this. He's right about China. But it's not enough to just be right. You have to be productive. Yeah. And so I just don't think a smokescreen meeting with China in which they agree to buy more iPhones.
I think the fix
is this. I think they've got to agree to be fair.
It's going to be painful. It's going to be painful. And so the American population is going to have to face the fact that if you want to have these things fixed, you're going to be uncomfortable for a while. It's what's going to happen. That's the nature of fixing problems. It's the same thing when you're fixing psychological problems, same thing when you're fixing political problems, all of them. You're going to be uncomfortable. There's no way around that, because whenever you're pulling something out of the psyche, or in this case, out of the politics, when you're pulling it out, it's going to hurt. And so, but the American people don't like to feel pain. They don't like to feel hurt. They don't like to suffer. And unfortunately, you're going to suffer. So Donald Trump is going to take a lot of hits. The situation with the wall, whether or not you agree with the wall is irrelevant. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the new people came in before they ever set foot in their roles in January. They had determined that they were going to do everything they could to fight the president, regardless of whether or not he's right.
No, I'm not. I understand that. I understand that.
Let me finish. So what happens? They come in. They set this up. He says, "Listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'll shut the government down." And so people are going to have to be uncomfortable for a while, especially those who want the wall. You're going to have to suck it up and deal with the fact that people are going to go without paychecks. And you're going to have, because it's a waiting game.
Listen, you sound like my kid when he doesn't take out the garbage. And I get up in the morning and I walk in the kitchen and I look and the garbage didn't get taken out the night before. And I go to him and he says, "But I have to get to school." He has an excuse for not taking the garbage out. And I'm saying, you had all of yesterday evening when I told you to take the garbage out. Trump had Congress for 2 years. This is not Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's fault.
No, what I'm saying,
that we don't have a wall.
No, we don't have a wall because the Republicans lied to the people. When they were running with Trump, they lied. They flat out lied.
Are you going to? When did Trump start asking for funding for the wall?
He started asking during his first 2 years.
No, he started talking about it. When did he ask for funding for this wall?
It was 2017. It
was the $5.7 billion.
It was whenever, I'm trying to get the date right. It was October of 2017.
Again, there are plenty of opportunities here.
Oh yeah, he's had many.
Back to China, because I think the wall and China are two separate discussions.
Well,
but they
my
lead to this.
This
is my point. Whatever you feel about our president, however enamored you are with the image he's portrayed as this great negotiator and deal maker, he has to prove that, right? He has to prove it in politics, which has been the criticism economically, is some of his things aren't translating over to political environments because you just can't do what he's threatening to do, which is just take control of everything and be the dictator to get it done, which is what declaring a national emergency would be, right? We have to at some point acknowledge the talk is great. You can be right all day long, but if you're not productive, you can be the greatest general in the world, but if you don't win the battle, you are a loser. You don't go down in history. You can be a mediocre general. Let's go to the Civil War. Every historian out there will acknowledge that Robert E. Lee was a better general than Ulysses S. Grant. He was a better tactician. Heck, he was sober, right? But Grant won. Mm-hmm. A lot of that's because people under Grant, Sherman, those kind of people, were really good at their job, right? Yeah. Robert E. Lee didn't win. The greatest accomplishment of Robert E. Lee in the Civil War was negotiating the ceasefire and the truce, was signing the papers saying we surrender, right? Few historians would doubt the capability of each general. The Union wanted Robert E. Lee on their side because he was reputable. He's a better general.
Yeah, when it started, they went to him. He's like, I won't raise a gun against Virginia. He wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it doesn't matter how good of a general he was. He didn't win. He did not win, okay? He didn't win. At some point, we have to start doing this winning that we're going to be so sick of, and I was ready for it on the Affordable Care Act, and it's not happened, so I'm bummed. The wall, again, I'm just going back to the wall. I wasn't necessarily advocating the wall, but if you're going to say you're going to do it, do it. But when it comes to China, I'm serious on this one. Personally, and people in my circles are feeling the economic impact of this thing with China. Cost of goods are up. It's killing us.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's what I'm talking about is going to be necessary, is you're going to have to experience that level of discomfort. We're going to, as Americans, we're going to have to suffer through some rough times as this gets resolved. And this is like I said, this is a psychological principle that is just there. If you want to fix something that is broken, it's going to hurt first.
Well, and the big question is who hurts. Now, I'll say this. In economic change, small boutique companies like some of the ones I own, some of them aren't meant to survive. Like I'm enough of an objective, rational, free market economist to know that sometimes some businesses just don't make it. It's not the fault of the government. It's not the fault of these things. But right now there is unnecessary duress on sectors of the economy in the United States because of this trade war. And if you just tell me that you've negotiated for them to buy more of our stuff, it wasn't worth it. This trade war, the pain we're feeling in some of the sectors of society, in the audiovisual market, the electronics market, all of this that we're feeling will only be worth it if on the other side of it, the president will do what he promised to do when he was right and said, we're going to have them stop stealing our stuff like you started, and we're going to have them stop pinching off competitive markets and manipulating their currency.
You have a couple problems here. The president relies on smoke and mirrors, like every other politician. Okay? He's going to push and talk the big talk, and push for something that is just outrageous, and he's going to take a step back and say, look, well, they conceded here, when before they weren't willing to concede anything. Well, at least they've conceded this much. And he's going to claim that as a victory. And you're right, that's not a victory. It's not. That's finally getting them to step up and admit that.
Well, it's not enough, and this is why it's not enough.
But he's relying. Hold on, he's relying on this, and he's not really any different than any other politician we've had. He's not really different than any other president we've had. There's a lot of talk, but not a lot of follow through.
That doesn't mean we stop demanding those things because it matters. It absolutely matters. So let's look at the Affordable Care Act. And for those of you who don't want to analyze it and you want to overlook it because you feel like you got 2 Supreme Court justices, they ran on the platform of repealing and replacing ACA. So we got 3 minutes left in the program. We'll get this in. They ran on that platform. They didn't. They gutted some provisions in it, but we still have it. So because we still have the Affordable Care Act, you know what they didn't do? Replace. They haven't shown the American public there's a better model for health care. The conservatives have not introduced a better model for health care. What does that mean? That means now you have what I would consider the front runner in Senator Harris out of California, who's openly had introduced and co-sponsored the bill with Bernie Sanders, which should have been the last Democratic nominee for president if it wasn't for superdelegates, has introduced the bill for single-payer health care for all. So it's not enough to just do these little things and gut the provisions. We have to show people that conservative ideas work. And because we haven't repealed the Affordable Care Act, and because you feel like you won a little bit by gutting the provisions and it'll collapse, what it's going to collapse into is a single-payer plan. It's not going to collapse back into the free market, people. No. For those of you who are saying, well, it's going to fall apart now, and they'll see that no, that's not how it works. You're going to put America in distress, and when they get in distress, they turn to the government for a bailout. We saw this in 2008 with the housing crisis. It's going to happen again. So let's look at China. We go through all this unnecessary duress related to the tariff and trade war. We're going to walk out with some sort of concession of they're going to buy more soybeans.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
And we're supposed to feel good about it, and nothing has changed. And China continues to manipulate their currency, to continue to steal our intellectual property, and American businesses hurt. Right? You say we need a wall to fix immigration. I disagree, but you say we need it to fix immigration. You can't come back and say, well, you know what we have now? We have this really nice 5-foot fence. And if it doesn't fix the illegal immigration issue...
Any person who was Spartan raised knows how easy it is.
Yeah, you don't even jump over the fire, Bruce.
I do.
I've got photographic evidence that you do not jump over the fire.
Photographic evidence that I do.
Do not jump over the fire. You're not jumping over the fence.
You did not look far enough back in the feed.
Okay, well we've got
I've been to 3 races, and they only stopped me on one of them.
Maybe. Listen, that's all we have for today. Dr. BS, go Rams. They're going to win it all. We'll see you guys next week. Tuesday, we'll give away the prizes. Again, you've got till Sunday Sunday. Get your predictions on Facebook.com/manuptalk in the thread. What do you think the final is going to be for Patriots and the Rams in the Super Bowl? Those who are closest, we're going to give you some free stuff. Again, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNV Television, we're out.